Welcome, dear viewers. Today we will present to you the first episode of the History of Wars series, and this episode will be titled The Origin of the Conflict Between Azerbaijan and Armenia. Follow us. What is the origin of the conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia? The conflict between the two neighbors Azerbaijan and Armenia, which are located as a major crossroads between Eastern Europe and Western Asia, has its origin in the 1920s over a separatist region known as the Nagorno-Karabakh region, which is a mountainous region with an area of about 4,400 square kilometers, 1,700 square miles. To understand the dimensions of the conflict, it is worth noting at the outset that this region is geographically located in the heart of Azerbaijan, but demographically it is inhabited by 95% Armenian majority. The first features of the conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia over the Nagorno-Karabakh region appeared after the collapse of the Russian Empire in 1917, during the formation of three ethnic republics in the South Caucasus, from Armenia, Azerbaijan and Georgia. However, there are two narratives that reveal to us the historical legacy of hatred, and the spirit of continuous hostility between Armenians and Azeris in the Caucasus region, by accusing each other of committing massacres and killing civilians. The first story, promoted by the Armenians, is that after the proclamation of the Republic of Armenia, Azerbaijan launched a military offensive in May 1918, with the support of Turkish military units, and carried out massacres against civilians, and even killed 40,000 Armenians in March 1920. The second story, promoted by the Azerbaijani side, is that in April 1918, after declaring their independence, Armenian armed formations killed thousands of civilians based on their ethnic and religious affiliations, destroyed Azerbaijani cities and villages, and a number of cultural monuments, mosques, and cemeteries, and tortured Armenian armed units extremists, 30,000 civilians in Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan, including women, children, and the elderly. Consequently, this mountainous region was a curse on its inhabitants, especially after the decision of Joseph Stalin, the High Commissioner for Nationalities, during the Bolshevik Revolution, in 1921, which relied on the policy of divide and rule by annexing the Karabakh region, with an Armenian majority, to Soviet Socialist Azerbaijan, and granting him rule self, as a means to divide the South Caucasus, and to sow the core of tension and conflict between the two states, to divide ethnic groups within the sprawling Union republics, ensuring the central government in Moscow enduring influence. With the retreat of the grip of the former Soviet Union on the countries that revolved in its orbit, that dispute erupted between Armenia and Azerbaijan over sovereignty over this region in 1988, after the region's parliament voted in favor of joining Armenia, and with the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, the Karabakh region declared independence officially, which caused a war between the two countries again, in which 30,000 people were killed, millions of refugees were displaced, and Armenia at that time controlled the disputed region and occupied 20% of the Azerbaijani land surrounding the region. 2 years later, the Security Council issued its resolutions number 822, 853, 874, and 884, in 1993, demanding the withdrawal of Armenian forces from the occupied territories in Azerbaijan, but the Armenian forces did not comply with the decision. However, fighting between Azerbaijan and Armenia stopped temporarily in Karabakh in 1994, after Russia brokered a ceasefire agreement, while Turkish reports indicate that Moscow was supporting the Armenian forces militarily and politically during the conflict. Although a ceasefire was agreed in 1994, after thousands of people were killed and millions were displaced, both countries continued to accuse each other of launching attacks around Karabakh and along the separatist Armenian border. However, early April 2016 witnessed the heaviest fighting since 1994. It resulted in more than 300 deaths. And after 4 days of fighting, the two sides announced that they had agreed to a ceasefire. Tensions have remained high since the collapse of the talks that followed the violence in 2016, and negotiation and mediation efforts, led by several countries led by the United States, Russia and France, the Minsk Group, failed to reach a lasting solution to the conflict, in light of repeated violations of the ceasefire. The escalation from the Armenian side by bombing the Azerbaijani army positions and the border region of Tavyuz on July 12, 2020, took another dimension after the Armenian army expanded the bombing areas beyond the ceasefire line areas. In addition to the violent clashes that broke out recently in Karabakh. But if a ceasefire was declared in 1994,